Continuing with our series Gem, which is talking about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Today, inshallah, I want to share with you something very interesting about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that often we don't read in the books. And that is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he talked to people, he studied people, he learned about people, and he would only talk about the things that they would like to talk about and not the things that he'd like to talk about. Let me give you an example. How often have you been to a wedding, a gathering, where there are some people, subhanAllah, they're so filled with their own ego that all that they're doing at that da'wat or that event is just talking about their accomplishments. How many times have you seen that? I'm sure you've seen those kind of people. Or I'm sure you've come across people that they're so ego-centered that even if you shared an accomplishment of yours, they will not worry about your accomplishment. They won't give you praises for your accomplishment, but they will talk about their own accomplishments. They will say, you know what, you've accomplished this, but you know what I have accomplished in life, and they'll talk about their accomplishments. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not that kind of person. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam understood people. And when he would talk to people, he would talk to them on a level that would relate to them. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was coming from Ta'if, he was bloody. His clothes were filled with blood. His shoes were filled with blood. He's sitting in a garden. And that garden belonged to two people who were not Muslims. They sent their slave, his name was Addas, that go and serve these grapes and these fruits to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is meeting Addas perhaps, it is for the very first time, without a doubt. What do you think he's talking to Addas about? Imagine sitting with a person that you have no idea who they are. What would you talk to a person about? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he knew how to talk to people. He knew that let me talk about something that they can relate to. And he asked Addas, where are you from, Addas? And he says, I'm from Nenwa. He says, Nenwa. He goes, my brother is from Nenwa. He goes, your brother is from Nenwa? He goes, yes, my brother, Yunus alayhi salam, is from Nenwa. And like this, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was able to establish a connection with him. And soon after that, he converted to Islam and he came into the fold of Islam. This is who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. But I want to share with you a much more beautiful story. And that is the story of Jabir radiallahu ta'ala an. See, Jabir radiallahu ta'ala an, whose father passed away in the battle of Uhud. He left behind 9 daughters and his son Jabir. And not only did he leave behind all these children, but he left behind a great amount of debt. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's in this particular situation. Jabir is going through a very difficult time in his life. He's trying to take care of his sisters. He's trying to also take care of his father's debts. And the next battle, the next expedition, Dhatul Riqa'. This is an expedition that took place in the 5th year after Hijrah. And it was in this expedition where the revelation of Salatul Khawf came down. Because the enemies, they said that when the Muslims, they pray, then at that time we will attack them. At that time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed the ayat regarding Salatul Khawf. But anyway, in Dhatul Riqa', Jabir radiallahu anhu, he had a camel. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sees that his camel is extremely weak. So what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did was that he stayed behind. He went all the way back to Jabir. And he says, Jabir, what's going on? And he says, Ya Rasulullah, my camel is weak. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he did was that he took a stick and he simply just tapped the camel with this stick. Never beat it, never hit it hard, just simply tap. And all that he did was after he tapped it, the camel stood up and it was energized with this, this unique kind of energy. And it began to run and walk at a fast pace. Jabir radiallahu ta'ala, he is shocked. And now Jabir radiallahu anhu and the Prophet ﷺ are standing all the way at the back of the army. Now, Jabir is a young man. He just got married. What do you think is on his mind? Marriage is on his mind, right? He just got married. Rasulullah ﷺ never talked to him about anything else, but he knew what's on the mind of Jabir. So he says, Jabir, how's your marriage going on? How's your marriage going on, Jabir? See, the Prophet ﷺ, he talked to people about what they want to talk about. And he says, Ya Rasulullah, I got married. He says, who did you get married to? Did you get married to someone who was previously married or someone who's never been previously married, a virgin woman? And he says, Ya Rasulullah, I got married to a woman who was previously married. And he says that perhaps you should have got married to someone who was not previously married. To which Jabir radiallahu anhu said that, Ya Rasulullah, if I got married to someone who's younger than me, then I needed someone to take care of my sisters. Hence, I got married to someone who's a little older than me. Rasulullah ﷺ said that is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, as they are coming, and he could see, this is the thing I'm trying to talk about. Rasulullah ﷺ, he could read in people's voices. He could study, and he saw in Jabir's voice as if Jabir is saying, I wanted to get married to a virgin woman, but because of my sisters, I had to settle on a woman who was previously married. To which Rasulullah ﷺ said that, Jabir, before we enter into Medina, let's stay outside of Medina for a bit. We're going to send the news to the people of Medina that now our expedition is over, and we're going to come, inshallah, and your wife will, inshallah, decorate the house and clean up the house, inshallah, and make it in a presentable manner. And the Prophet ﷺ said very exactly that she will set up and straighten out the cushions. Now, when Jabir heard this, Jabir said, Ya Rasulullah, cushions? I don't have cushions. I'm a poor man. I don't have anything. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Jabir, this camel of yours, would you sell it to me? And he says, of course, you are Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I can't say no to that. So he says, how much will you sell it to me for? For 1 dirham? He says, no, Rasulullah, I know it was weak. Now it's fast. I want to sell it at a higher price. I can't give it to you for $1, 1 dirham. So he says, okay, Jabir, tell me how much you want to sell it for. And so the books of history mention that they went back and forth. Finally, they settled on a price of 40 dirhams. So Jabir says, perfect, but one condition, I need this camel to get back to Medina. You can't take the camel, I'm going to be on my foot. So I need this camel to get back to Medina, but inshallah, once we get back to Medina, this camel is yours. You give me 40 dirhams. The Prophet ﷺ said, cool, transaction done. Now they came all the way back to Medina. He left, he took the camel home. All the luggage that he had on the camel, he took it off. He left it at his home. He took the camel back to Masjid Nabawi. He tied it outside. And the Prophet ﷺ told Bilal radiallahu ta'ala an that go and give him 40 dirhams or dinars, one of the two. Anyway, this money was given. Then the Prophet ﷺ, Jabir left. Then the Prophet ﷺ told Bilal, take this camel also and go and tie it outside Jabir's house. Now Jabir comes outside his house and he sees Bilal tying this camel, and he says that, what happened? This camel doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the Prophet ﷺ. And he says that, no, but the Prophet ﷺ told me to give it back to you. So Jabir is saying that has the sale been cancelled? Like, is the Prophet ﷺ retreating from the sale? And he says, look, I don't know. I just did what the Prophet ﷺ told me to do. So I took the camel, I brought it to your house. So Jabir then comes back to the masjid and he sees Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, Ya Rasulullah, I'm totally confused. Like, why did you give me back this camel? So at that time, look at the akhlaq of the Prophet ﷺ, subhanAllah. The Prophet ﷺ says that, Jabir, do you really think I was negotiating with you because I really wanted this camel? No, I was negotiating with you to see how much money do you need to take care of your expenses at home. This is why we study Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was a man who was not interested in what he had, but he was interested in taking care of Jabir's house. Because any young man who has to take care of his family, what's the first thing on their mind? That I need to have money to take care of my family. That is what's on their mind. Rasulullah ﷺ, he reads between the lines and he understands people's nature. So what we learned from the Prophet ﷺ was that he was a person who understood other people. Whenever he would talk to other people, he would talk about the things that are perhaps on their mind. The Prophet ﷺ comes to the masjid one day and he sees Julaybib radiallahu ta'ala an. Julaybib was single, he was poor, and he was not a handsome man. Now you think about it. Any person, a young man who doesn't have anything, but what's one thing on their mind? What's one thing that they want to do? Get married. Right? They want to get married. So he says, Julaybib, I think I know what's on your mind. And he says, what do you think is on my mind? He says that you want to get married, Julaybib. And he says, Ya Rasulullah, I want to get married. But he says, who's going to marry me? I'm poor, I'm single, I'm not a good looking man. The Prophet ﷺ said, you don't have to worry about that. The Prophet ﷺ went to someone's house and they said that, is your daughter available to get married? They thought that it was Rasulullah ﷺ seeking their daughter's hand in marriage. And they were so happy that Rasulullah ﷺ wants, no problem. But they said, no, not for me. It's for this man, Julaybib. And the father, he took a step back. When he told the mother, he told his wife, she took a step back. The daughter heard it. She came. She said, if this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wants, then I'm going to marry this man. Whether he's poor, single, and not a good-looking man, I'm going to get married to him. And she married him. The point is, once again, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam always talked to people. He was never about himself. He was never a self-centered person. He was always about other people. When he lied down next to Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, his wife, what do you think he's going to talk to his wife about? Battles? Wars? What's going on in the community? No. He says to Aisha, Aisha, I know when you're happy with me, and I know when you're upset with me. And she says, how do you know that? She says that when you're upset with me, you say by the Rabb of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And when you're pleased with me, you say by the Rabb of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is why I'm talking about this. This is the excellent model that we find in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So going forward, inshallah, when we talk to other people, when someone comes to us and talks to us about them, their accomplishments, we always should share the happiness with them. When we see people going through grief and challenges and difficulties in their life, then talk to them about that. You know, subhanAllah, there are people who have come to me and told me that they went to other people for help. Instead of getting help, those people are talking about themselves. So this is why we learn about the Prophet ﷺ, and always remember, it's always about the other people. And subhanAllah, I'll finish on this. When you care about other people, then other people are going to care about you. Unfortunately, today we live in a very selfish society where everyone is about me, myself, and I. I want to be appreciated. I want people to praise me. We should never look for people's appreciation, never look for people's praises. Because the only appreciation we're looking for is whose appreciation? Allah's appreciation. The only praise we're looking for is the praises from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which inshallah will be in the akhirah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the akhlaq and the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ameen rabbil alameen. Wa jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما.